Hey guys, it's Miss Hardy. I am here to make another video for you. Today I'm going to read pages 68 through 75 from If You Lived at the Time of the American Revolution, okay? So up until this whole point, we've been talking about the events that led up to the American Revolution, right? We talked about how citizens from Great Britain moved over to the New World and started the colonies in America, right? The 13 colonies. And these 13 colonies were owned and ruled by King George III, even though he was 3,000 miles across the ocean back in London, England, right? In Great Britain. But at first, everything was great because he sent his troops to help the colonists in the French and Indian War when they were being attacked by the Native Americans and the French, right? Because the French wanted to take the colonies for the King of France, okay? And so King George sent over his troops, and so the colonists were like, yeah, we love King George. Long live the king. He protects us, and he comes to our aid when we need help, right? And so their relationship was good, but then over time, he left his troops there to stay in the colonies permanently, and the colonists had to provide free room and board for the soldiers. Remember, that's the Quartering Act. The colonists were forced to let these random soldiers, these men they didn't know, come live in their house for free, eat their food for free, okay? And then the soldiers started to really enforce all the laws that King George had made. So the colonists felt like they had no privacy and they were being watched all the time. And if you said anything bad about the king, that would be committing treason and you could be thrown in jail, okay? And the whole point that the citizens of Great Britain went over there, the colonists, the whole point of them moving to the colonies was for more freedom, right? Freedom of religion, to try to make more money, have opportunities for their families because they were poor in Great Britain. So that's when things started to get rough, the colonists and their relationship with Great Britain, with King George. A lot of these colonists, some of them joined the Sons of Liberty and started to protest these taxes and felt like King George was being unfair and they didn't have a vote or a voice. They were being taxed without representation, right? That's where they started saying no taxation without representation. And we have events like the Boston Tea Party, and because of they were fed up with the Tea Act, and the Stamp Act made them have to pay for these stamps to put on all of their paper and items, right? So all these ridiculous taxes, and the colonists started to get really angry. So that all led up to the first battle that we know Paul Revere warned the colonists about, to get up the Minutemen, the Patriots, to wake up and be ready. And it was the shot heard round the world at Lexington and Concord, and that started the American Revolution. So throughout the American Revolution, at first things looked really bad for the Patriots at different times, but thankfully some allies came in, right? We know that France came in to help. Spain, Holland sent some money, some Native Americans, some African Americans joined the Patriot side, and so lo and behold, we get to the end of the war, and guess who wins? The underdogs, the Patriots, the colonists that at first didn't seem like they even stood a chance. So the Patriots win. But then they have this whole new problem of, how do we run our own country? You know, what are we going to do? What is America going to be about? And so then it's up to the founding fathers to start this brand new country. Okay. So thank you for listening to my talking. I just wanted to catch y'all up because I know it's been a month since we got to talk about this. But I'm going to just kind of read a little bit, pages 68 through 75. Okay, and on page 68, it says, what were some useful things that were invented during the war? I'm going to read it and then show you the picture. Benjamin Franklin could be called the grandfather of American invention. Franklin is best known for his experiments with electricity. Although most of his inventions, such as the Pennsylvania fireplace, aka the Franklin stove, the lightning rod, and the odometer, which measures distance traveled, were created before the war, they were still used at this time. Franklin designed reading glasses with 2 lenses in 1783. So the first glasses with 2 lenses, we can thank Dr. Benjamin Franklin for that. David Bushnell made the Turtle, an early submarine. Looking like a large oak barrel, it moved when a propeller was turned by hand. Bushnell presented it to the Patriots as a way to put bombs on British warships, so to sneak bombs underwater on a submarine to drop off bombs on British warships. That's pretty sneaky. Ezra Lee made the first try, but he couldn't get the bomb to stick to the ship. Lee had to work fast. There was only enough air for 30 minutes underwater. The Turtle never worked like Bushnell hoped, but he built underwater mines that made the British Navy very nervous. He made underwater bombs that they used during the war. So Benjamin Franklin invented this fireplace and some reading glasses with 2 lenses, and then Bushnell created the Turtle submarine and some bombs that they could use underwater. Okay. George Washington felt that the most outstanding soldiers should receive some type of award. In 1782, he started giving the Badge of Military Merit, which later became the Purple Heart. This medal is now given to all soldiers wounded in battle. Okay, so soldiers, even to this day, if they're wounded in battle, they receive the Purple Heart Award. They can pin to their jacket, and it's a big deal. And it was invented by George Washington in the American Revolution. We still use it and still award it to soldiers to this day. How crazy. Okay, so what words and expressions came from life during the American Revolution? To put your John Hancock on paper means to sign your name. Why? Well, John Hancock was the first patriot to sign the Declaration of Independence. He made his signature very large. He said he wanted to be sure the king could see it. Okay, so when they signed the Declaration of Independence, all 50 founding fathers, John Hancock's was the biggest. He signed his name huge because he said he wanted to make sure King George could see it, because he was very passionate about letting the king know why we don't want to be a part of your country anymore. So if you hear someone say today, put your John Hancock, that means write your name. The word cowboy was first used to name pro-British outlaws. They used cowbells to attract people and then robbed them or stole animals from farmers and sold them to the British Army. So the word cowboy comes from the American Revolution. Pro-patriot outlaws were called skinners because they took all of a person's belongings so that they were left with only their bare skin. Okay, so here's the Purple Heart Award, and then where it talks about the John Hancock signature, the name Cowboy and Skinner, that both come from the American Revolution. Okay. Very interesting. All right, calling a person a bigwig was an insult. While wigs were worn by many people, to wear a large hairstyle was thought to be showing off or making yourself look important. So it was an insult if you called someone a big wig. It means like they're a show off. The Yankees Returned from Camp was a song sung by the British to make fun of the colonists. However, the Patriots liked the song and they turned it into a symbol of the new country. It's still sung today. We call it Yankee Doodle. All right, so originally, if you've ever heard the song Yankee Doodle, I might link it on YouTube for you guys, but it originally was a song that the British sang to make fun of the Patriots. Okay, they were making fun of the Patriots, but then the Patriots actually loved it and made it their own song. Yankee Doodle, it's a very famous American song. So what ended the war? After over 6 years of fighting, the British Army gave up to the American forces at 2 p.m. on October 19th, 1781 at Yorktown, Virginia. So the Battle of Yorktown was the last battle, and the British surrendered because the Patriots the Continental Army had surrounded them, right? And we know that they had a spy on the inside named Hercules. Remember I told you all in class? And he was able to find out the British plans, and then the Patriots, the Continental Army, was able to surround the British and force them to surrender. General Charles Cornwallis, he was the general for the British side, the Redcoats, said that he was too ill, said he was sick. He was too sick to surrender personally to George Washington, but we know he was really just embarrassed to have to surrender to George Washington, okay? And so British General Charles O'Hara surrendered to American General Benjamin Lincoln at Yorktown. The British officer presented his sword, and the American tapped it as an acceptance of surrender. The British fifes played the song, "The World Turned Upside Down." Okay, so remember I showed y'all that song from the musical Hamilton, "The World Turned Upside Down." It was just basically nobody thought the Patriots were going to win, and King George just lost all of this land, all of these 13 colonies. So for them, it felt like the world really was turning upside down, okay? This was a good tune because life in America changed greatly after this day. News of the surrender spread throughout the states by messengers, newspapers, and broadsides. So people got on their horses and ran through the colonies, yelling, "The war's over, we won, the Patriots won." It reached Philadelphia on October 22nd and Boston on October 27th. Towns celebrated with cannon salutes, they blew cannonballs, bonfires, and fireworks. They were celebrating. People kept the lamps in their houses lit all night. Loyalists had to keep their lights on too. They even forced the Loyalists to light candles and celebrate with them, like a ha-ha, we won. It took until September 1783 for the final peace agreement to be written. The Treaty of Paris really ended the American Revolution. In the treaty, the new country was recognized and its boundaries decided. Fishing limits were set along the coast of Canada. It was also agreed that Congress would recommend to the states that they restore property to any loyalist who had not fought in the war. In most cases, the states did not do this, so they kind of punished the colonists that were on the loyalist side. They kept their land and didn't give them back as like a ha-ha, this is punishment for you joining the loyalist side. We'll let you live here, but we're not going to make it easy on you. Okay, so here's a copy of the Yankee Doodle song during the American Revolution. And this is what I just read to you guys. Okay. How did life change for the Loyalists after the war? The following verse from a song written after the victory at Yorktown shows that life for the Loyalists was going to get even harder. "Now, Tories all, what can ye say? Come, is this not a griper, that while your hopes are danced away, 'tis you must pay the piper?" So that's basically a fancy way of them saying, all you colonists that were on the Loyalist side, now you need to pay for joining the wrong side and not supporting us Patriots during the war. After Cornwallis's defeat, many Loyalists quickly moved to England. So some of the colonists that were on the Loyalist side, they just packed up and left. They were embarrassed that the British had lost, and they didn't want to have to live with their neighbors, the Patriots. They were so embarrassed, they moved back to England. Some moved to Canada, the West Indies, or British-held East Florida. They asked the British government to pay them for their lost property. Those who did get paid received less than half of the value that was lost. Most colonists did not get back the type of life that they had before the war started. Slaves who had fought for the British were given their freedom. Okay, so that's good. The British kept their end of the bargain, and they gave the African Americans that fought with the British side, they gave them their freedom after the war. Some moved to the same countries as the other Loyalists, or to Sierra Leone in Africa. Some joined the British Navy. Native Americans, like the Iroquois, who had helped the British, had their villages burned, lost much of their land, and were never able to return to their former ways. Oops, so the Patriots were not very nice to them. How did life change for the Patriots after the war? After a lot of celebrating, because they were very excited that they won, the Patriots worked to remove the memory of the British. Place names were changed. The Queen's Head Tavern in New York became the Francis Tavern, again after its owner, Samuel Francis, who later became the steward of Washington's household. Hutchinson Street in Boston, named for Loyalist Governor Thomas Hutchinson, was renamed Pearl Street. So any street or any business or place that was named after a Loyalist or a British officer or for the Queen or King George, they renamed it. Some names honored Patriot leaders. Washington College in Maryland was the first college named for George Washington. Mountains, towns, lakes, and countries were also given his name. So there's no pictures on this one.